Hello, my name is Taylor, and I am a mental health counselor at Brain Energy. I joined the Brain Energy team as an intern while I was completing my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Winona State University. I completed my degree in July of 2025 and started on as a mental health counselor at Brain Energy immediately afterwards. During my time at Brain Energy, I have also joined the NAMI Northwoods board, and I have graciously accepted a position as their board president in 2026. While at Brain Energy, I have discovered that I really enjoy working with children and adolescents and working with emotional regulation skills with them, as well as working with victim survivors of domestic or sexual violence. Prior to becoming a counselor, I worked as a victim advocate for domestic and sexual violence, and I've done that for about 4 years before I became a counselor. Because of my background in advocacy, connecting people with the right resources is a crucial part of what I bring to the Brain Energy team. I also wanted to spend some time and go over the counseling theories that the Brain Energy team uses with their clients in order for them to reach their treatment goals and go from surviving to thriving. The first theory that we're going to cover is cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT. At its core, CBT involves three crucial parts: thoughts, emotions, and behavior. While using the CBT model, counselors believe that when a person has an intrusive or negative thought, those thoughts will trigger negative emotions, which ultimately lead to negative behaviors, which reinforce the negative thoughts. When using the CBT model with a client, a counselor will often have the client try to understand how these thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are all connected with each other. We also like to point out that clients often don't necessarily see right away that if they were to change their behavior and how they respond to the thoughts and emotions that they have, then the thoughts and emotions that they have can potentially change. All therapists are trained to provide CBT for their clients as soon as they leave their counseling program. Next, we're going to talk about dialectical behavior therapy, also known as DBT. DBT is known as the skills-based counseling theory, and that's because there are four main parts to this theory. The four parts include emotional regulation skills, mindfulness skills, distress tolerance skills, and interpersonal effectiveness skills. Emotional regulation skills include different ways that a person can navigate a big emotion without feeling the need to blow up. This looks different for everyone, and we often spend a lot of time on emotional regulation skills when working with clients, because ultimately these are going to be what you can do in the moment to make the moment better. The next skill, mindfulness, means to be present in the moment, so not thinking about the future and not thinking about the past, and doing so without judgment. This sounds like a hard skill to master, and that is true. However, you most likely practice mindfulness without even realizing it. My favorite way to practice mindfulness includes enjoying my cup of coffee every morning in my living room with the TV off and just thinking, this moment is nice. Distress tolerance skills allows us to find ways to mitigate the smaller stressors in our life to avoid our fuse becoming too short too fast. Again, distress tolerance skills, like emotional regulation skills, can look different for everyone. Lastly, interpersonal effectiveness skills means how do we communicate with others, and are we able to say what we mean and mean what we say? Along with meaning what we say and saying what we mean, DBT also provides a framework on how to handle hard conversations and doing so without letting emotion kick you out of the driver's seat. Next, we're going to talk about internal family systems, also known as IFS. According to IFS, we are born into this world as pure humans, and through experiences, our emotions dictate whether or not we believe we are a good or bad person, or if we believe the world is good or bad. Our emotions take up what is called parts within IFS, and if you are familiar with the movie Inside Out, it's not that much differently. There's different personality traits that are associated with each part. There is no such thing as a bad part, as even the negative emotions often give us crucial intel about what is going on in our world around us. Anxiety often protects us from feeling fear, and anger often protects us from feeling sad. Because of these crucial parts, we don't want to get rid of any of these parts because, for instance, anxiety has us look out for the tiger, and our ancestors have found that if they don't look out for the tiger, the children could be eaten. However, present day in Marshfield, Wisconsin, it's hard for our brain to understand that there is no tiger on the hunt for children. The only tiger in town is the football team. By using internal family systems, we as counselors can help clients navigate the difference between what our parts believe they are protecting us from and what our parts actually need to protect us from. By allowing ourselves to navigate that process, we can teach clients how to politely tell our parts, I see you, thank you for trying to protect me, but you're working overtime and it's no longer needed. Lastly, we are going to talk about eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, also known as EMDR. EMDR expands on what we have already talked about during IFS. For those who don't recall, in IFS, our emotions dictate whether our experiences make us a good or bad person, or if we believe that the world is good or bad. Our emotions categorize these experiences, and you can imagine your brain as a filing cabinet that's overstuffed with everything that you have experienced since birth. Sometimes our emotions can double dip, and what I mean by this is that an experience can make you feel like a good person and also believe that the world is good. This can look like, wow, I volunteer and I make the world a better place. I am a good person because of that. Sometimes our brain can make a mistake. And this is when our emotion mind and logic mind are not on the same page. This can look like, I know I'm not the cause of my parents' divorce, but it really feels like I am. EMDR is here to help bridge that gap between your emotion and logic mind, and it does this by implementing bilateral movements. When you engage in bilateral movements, most commonly moving your eyes back and forth very fast, this opens up the passageways in your brain to allow your emotion mind and logic mind work behind the scenes to figure out what went wrong, and your brain also knows exactly what it needs to do in order for it to make sense. We jokingly tell clients that EMDR is kind of like witchcraft because it feels like everything and nothing is happening at the same time. However, EMDR is not witchcraft. There is actually a lot of research that shows that EMDR can be used to treat most mental illnesses. EMDR's history originated with having a lot of research done around traumatic events. And what they have found is EMDR allows the client to take a traumatic event and hold it in their working memory. And as they engage in bilateral movements, the rough and harsh edges of that memory fuzz out, allowing the client to talk more freely about what has happened to them. Thank you so much for taking the time to get to know me as well as the counseling theories that we use at Brain Energy. We do offer a free 45-minute consultation, so please reach out to us and we can talk about your mental health and why it's so important.